Perth has been a hit for over 2 years now, and everybody wants to know when it's gonna stop. This episode, I'm gonna share with you the keys almost no one in the property space is talking about. You can track this with free data at home. I'll open up what each metric is, why they're the most important metrics for triggering the end of the property boom in Perth, and most importantly, where you can source it. Now, let's get into it. So what metrics do we need to monitor to tell when the property boom in Perth is going to stop? These metrics are sale days on market, the trend in vendor discount, the combination of a trend in the number of sales and the number of listings. That is basically the relationship between supply and demand, and the trend in vacancy rate. Now, let me explain why they are important. To explain why, I figure it'd be better if I explain with some examples. I've prepared 3 examples here. They are Sydney, Hobart, and Perth itself. So Sydney experienced a property boom from 2013-14 to 2017. It ended by the end of 2017 to somewhere around early 2018. In Hobart, the last property boom lasted from 2016 to the end of 2022. And in Perth, the previous boom ended in 2014. So we are going to look at these 3 cities and try to find out what happened in the 1 or 2 years before their property boom ended. So now, let's have a look at Sydney. Sydney's property price growth actually slowed down a bit in 2016, had a slight second wind growth in 2017 before the boom really ended in the end of 2017. So in 2016, when the price growth slowed down, what we saw in days on market was that it was increasing. In 2017, the second wind growth was accompanied by a slight decline in days on market, but towards the end of 2017, days on market started to increase again, and that finally brought the end of the Sydney's property boom. And now let's have a look at vendor discount. In 2016, when growth slowed down, vendor discount was also heightened compared to the 2014-2015 level. In 2017, when the second wind growth happened, vendor discount was decreasing. So you can tell how vendor discount is correlated with price trend. And towards the end of 2017, again, vendor discount stopped declining and started increasing. That is when prices started to slow down and finally went into a decline. Now, the relationship between number of listings and number of sales. In looking at this, it's important to remember that we are looking at the relationship or the relative positions between these 2 indicators instead of looking at them in isolation. For example, let's look at Sydney's number of listings and number of sales here. So number of listings in Sydney started to decline in 2016, and at the same time, the number of sales actually started declining in 2015 already. In the 2 years of 2016 to 2017, the gap between number of listings, which is supply, and the number of sales, which is demand, became larger and larger. And finally, by the end of 2017, the gap was so large that the market pressure in Sydney became too low to keep pushing prices up. Then finally, what happened on the rental market? In 2016, vacancy rate started to increase, and the increase lasted from 2016 all the way to 2020. So vacancy rate doesn't directly reflect the supply and demand on the sales market because it is on vacancy rate is on the rental market, right? However, an increase in vacancy rate indicates that the overall amount of housing supply in a location is becoming higher and higher relative to the local housing demand. So to recap, in Sydney in 2016 and 2017, just before the property boom ended, days on market started increasing. Buyers are spending more time making their decision instead of rushing to buy. vendor discounts started to increase. Sellers were giving higher discounts to buyers because the competition was just not there. And the supply and demand relationship on both sales market and rental market were showing that there was more housing supply compared to the housing demand. So when all these trends showed and lasted for an extended period of time, Sydney's property boom was over. So days on market increasing, vendor discounts increasing, sales volume declining faster than number of listings, and vacancy rate increasing. These four trends happened just before the end of Sydney's property boom. Keep that in mind as we move on to Hobart. So Hobart's last property boom ended at the end of 2022. Let's see what happened there. Days on market started to increase in 2022, approximately 1 year before the prices started to decline. Vendor discounts actually started increasing in 2021 already. And by 2022, it has reached a quite elevated level, very similar to where it was in 2015, 2014, just before the property boom. And in terms of a number of listings and number of sales, we see that the number of listings started to increase in 2022. And at the same time, the number of sales started declining in 2022. That is, again, approximately 1 year before the property boom ended. On the rental market as well, vacancy rate started to increase in 2022, just before the property boom ended. So to recap, Hobart, approximately 1 year before the property boom ended, days on market started increasing. Vendor discount was elevated back to the same level as before the property boom happened. And at the same time, number of supply increased, number of sales declined. And on the rental market, vacancy rate started increasing as well. So these four trends, very similar to Sydney, happened just before Hobart's property boom ended. So far, we have seen the similarity between Sydney and Hobart just before their property boom ended. Now let's come back to Perth and see what happened before its last property boom ended. It happened in 2014. In 2012 and 2013, when house prices were going up strongly, days on market was dropping steeply. But in 2014, we are seeing this slowdown trend in the drop. And towards the end of 2014, the decline came to an end and started to increase. Vendor discount was decreasing steeply in 2012 and 2013, but in 2014, it started to increase. So far, very similar to what happened in Sydney and Hobart. And now let's have a look at number of supply and demand. The number of for sale listings has been increasing since 2013, and in 2014, it has reached at a quite lifted level. But at the same time, in 2014, the number of sales started to decline, making the gap between supply and demand larger and larger. And on the rental market, vacancy rate has been increasing ever since 2013. A very likely explanation for that steep increase in vacancy rate is a large amount of new houses were built and supplied to the market in 2012 and 2013. To recap, in 2014, just before the last property boom ended, the decrease in days on market slowed down and then started to increase. Vendor discount started increasing. Supply in both the sales market and the rental market increased a lot, but at the same time, number of sales decreased. Very similar trends to what happened in Sydney and Hobart before the end of their property boom, respectively. Now, I'm pretty sure you've got it why these four metrics are so important. We have seen very similar trends happening in the three cities just before their property boom ended in all four metrics. Days on market increasing, vendor discounts increasing, the gap between number of listings and number of sales becomes larger and larger, and vacancy rate increasing. So back to Perth, at this moment, it's only when the four metrics are happening together for an extended period of time, that would be a strong sign of the end of the property boom. Now, we've talked about the 4 metrics. Then the next question is where to source them. We're lucky because we are looking at Perth, a capital city, because most platforms offer more free data for capital cities instead of for smaller level of regions. For these 4 metrics, a good place to go is CoreLogic's monthly housing chart pack. I'm gonna Google monthly housing chart pack, CoreLogic. The first result, so this is the page where you want to go to download the monthly housing chart pack. Just put in your information here, hit the download button, and they will be sending the PDF to you by email. And here is the August version of this housing chart pack. If you scroll down a bit, you see this section called sales and listings. And in this section, you see the sales volume trend for each capital city and the rest of each state. You find median days on market, the number and trend over the last year, vendor discount, number and comparison with the same time last year, and the number of listings by capital city versus rest of each state. The only problem with this chart pack is that it doesn't show long-term trend for each capital city. But if you're interested in one or several cities, a good strategy is to remember to download it each month. And when you put them together, you will get the trend. And for rental vacancy rate, a good place to go is SQM Research. From their homepage, we would like to go to free property data. And on this page, they have vacancy rates. Now, this page is by postcode, but if we select here vacancy rates by region/city, you find Perth here. A good thing about SQM Research is that you can actually track the trend over the past almost 20 years. So that's where the 2 major data sources where you can track all these 4 metrics for free at home. So now you know what to get, where to get it, and what that actually means in terms of property data to track when the Perth property boom is finally going to be over. And as always, if you have any question, leave a comment below and we will try our best to answer each one of them. I'm Junge Ma, lead research analyst at InvestorKit. I'll see you on another episode.